In Saturday's election, Deputy Prime Minister Barnaby Joyce is fighting hard to fend off a challenge from Tony Windsor, who previously held that seat as an independent.
And the fight has turned increasingly ugly, particularly in the final week, with Tony Abbott's former advisor Peta Credlin joining in on the attack last night on Sky News.
In their pocket all the way through that hung parliament. I think the scrutiny is fair enough, and I think that he should answer for you know, the good and the bad, and he shouldn't be afraid of it. I mean, that was a pretty limp sort of statement that went out today, and we're at the tail end of a very tough campaign, and it's close. And he's never been a guy in my time in politics that played a clean game. He's played it pretty dirty, so good luck to him.
Peta Credlin there speaking about Tony Windsor, who joins us live from Tamworth. Tony Windsor, good morning and welcome to News Breakfast.
Good morning, Virginia. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. So that was Peta Credlin yesterday describing you as someone who's always fought dirty. Then you responded with this tweet to what she had to say, and we can bring that up now. Peta Credlin always made a nice cup of tea, missing the C there, during a hung parliament. That was your response. That, to many eyes, looks like a clearly sexist and demeaning put down. Would you like to retract that this morning?
No, it was meant as a compliment. Because one of the things I remember about Peta Credlin quite well, actually, and Tony Abbott during the negotiations in the 17 days when we were negotiating the formation of the minority government, was that she always made the tea, and she made a very, very good cup of tea. And I grew up in a family where I had a grandmother who had this capacity to make an exceedingly good cup of tea, and Peta Credlin rivalled that. I listened to her remarks just then as well, and I always regarded Peta Credlin as a very professional person. I'd never been negative about her, and it surprises me that she made those comments the other night, actually, because our relationship during that period of time, it was always on a professional level. And since that parliament, a number of media sources have often rung, particularly when there was a book put out on Peta Credlin, but a lot of people have rung over the years looking for me to make some negative comments about it. And my response has always been that my relationship with her was always on a very professional level, and I have no other reason to make any comment about it.
All right, well, look, we'll get to the substance of what she's saying about you having always fought dirty, but I've got to come in and clarify that again. You're asking me to seriously believe this morning that that comment you made on Twitter was not a sexist and demeaning put down, because I've got to say that's exactly how I read it. As a woman and as someone who would have held a senior position, I would have read it that way. Not
at all. And one of the things that really impressed me about Peta Credlin in her position, because she was in a very important position. I'd had things to do with her before the hung parliament. One of the things that really impressed me was that she did go and make a cup of tea for us.
All right, well,
let's occasion. Tony Abbott did too himself.
Let's see if Peta Credlin takes that from you. Yesterday she certainly didn't see it that way. But what about her assertion that you've always fought dirty? And in fact, there's been some pretty strong campaign run against you, a suggestion that you were a schoolyard bully on the front page of The Australian. How do you respond to all of that?
Oh, well, I don't read The Australian, haven't for years.
That's not true, Tony Windsor, because you said as a result of that story you've referred it to your lawyers, so you must have looked at it.
No, my staff have referred it to the lawyers, so that's not true what you've just said, Virginia, I'm sorry.
All right, but you say you don't read it, but how do you respond to it?
Well, I've asked my staff to refer it to my lawyers, and I'll be having discussions with those people.
Barnaby Joyce firmly distanced himself from that story. Do you believe that he's behaved honourably towards you during the campaign?
Barnaby Joyce and I haven't had any harsh comments. Obviously, there's been some work going on behind the scenes, particularly with the News Limited operation that I've never had any time for. They know that, and they want to eradicate me. During the hung parliament, we had that period of time where they were always dogging me. They went out to Canamble, where our son farms, and tried to dig up dirt out there. They had people actually wandering around all over the electorate looking for things. They continually attacked myself and Rob Oakeshott. You know, I'm used to that. That sort of thing doesn't worry me. What does worry me is when it impacts on my family.
Well, the Nationals and Barnaby Joyce are still presenting you as the man who broke the electorate's heart by going with Julia Gillard in the hung parliament. Has that been biting? Does that still exist, that disillusionment with you in the electorate as you go around during this campaign?
No, I'm not picking it up, Virginia. In fact, I've had one negative comment, and that was only the other day. And I since found out that that man didn't even come from here. No, the electorate is polarised. It's going to be a very close contest, and that's how it should be. I don't think you have to look at the opinion polls to see that. I think if you just look at the amount of money that's being expended by the government, or promised by the government during this particular campaign, to see that it is exceedingly close. I have never, in all of my time in politics, had so many people come up in the street and want to make a positive comment. But I don't think this is a normal election, so I don't think you can just say because I'm getting an exceedingly high number of people wanting to say positive things. I think Mr Joyce has probably got a group of people that are saying exactly the same thing to him. So it'll be very close, very tight.
Well, just finally then this morning, Tony Windsor, do you think you'll win? And also, how many independents do you see at this stage might end up in the lower house?
Oh, Virginia, I haven't been through the numbers on who's likely to win. I think Rob Oakeshot's got an excellent chance in Cowper. That might surprise some people, but I was over that way a few weeks ago, the day after he announced, and I thought he's had an extraordinary chance. Obviously, Wilkie, McGowan, there could be 5 or 6 in the House of Representatives. Who can tell? But I know that we're going to see a very interesting Senate. I think the Xenophon factor is going to have a crucial impact on this coming Parliament.
And yourself as well in the lower house?
Well, I've got as much chance of winning as anybody, and yes, I am confident. I think we can win this, but I get 1 vote. Everybody else gets a vote as well, and but the frenzy of activity that's going on the other side at the moment indicates to me that their polling, and I know the numbers as well as they do, their polling comes down to the margin of error in the poll. So that means it is close, and competitive contests are always good for the people you're attempting to represent.